Okay, we'll try this again. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the November 19th, 2025 meeting of Livable Roadways Committee. We're going to go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. We will go ahead and do introductions. So today, just again, we'll do something simple. Just your name and who you're here for, and yeah, we'll start with that.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Omar Pirzada, and I'm here with Harp.
I'm Rebecca Hessinger. I do not work for Development Services. Okay, I'm with Community and Infrastructure Planning. That's correct.
Okay, great.
Okay, nope.
Thank you. Hey, you know that if we didn't ask, we wouldn't have had that change.
Hi, Jason Jackman with the City of Tampa.
Yay, City of Tampa's here again. He's back.
All right, okay, Lisa Silva, TPO staff.
Lynn Hertag, Tampa City Council.
David Hay, Planning Commission staff.
Kevin Boyle, Urban Institute.
Karen Kress, Tampa Downtown Partnership, Planning and Development, and our department is hiring.
Ooh.
Caroline Seckham, West Shore Alliance.
Great.
I'm Lisa's here.
And then just your name and who you're with.
Emily Hinsdale with Sidewalks, Talkers, and Walk Back Tampa.
Excellent, excellent. You know, it all works out. It's wonderful. So I just wanted to say before we get any further that I was stopped on the way here this morning in county in the lobby, and someone just stopped and gave me a hug and thanked me for the free Route 1.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So yeah, that happened to me. So I was pretty excited.
Should have pulled that phone out and done a selfie.
I know. See, I'm terrible at that. You're right. I should have.
Super cool.
Okay, and so we're still doing introductions. So I'll, if you want to,
New arrival.
yes.
Can you tell us who you are? I am Ashley Anderson.
And who are you with today?
I work for Percolin Vision Advisors, but I'm representing the AIA Tampa.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so we can then approve the minutes. Does anyone have any thoughts on the minutes from October?
So
If- Okay, so I have a motion from Karen and a second from Emily. Any comments? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, we have passed approval of the minutes, and we have some action items, and I think we're going to start with Lisa this morning.
Yes. I'm standing in for Connor. He had to step out, so he apologizes. So I get the honor of being here, reunion.
Oh, and we are always happy to have you. So
Yeah,
nice
I was
to
like,
see your smiling face.
All right, so as per typical, you guys prefer, and it seems to work best to use the third Wednesday. So that's what we got here proposed. It's in your packet to look for any major conflicts. We're gonna take July off to recess as well. And we avoided spring break for those that are parents. So March is one of the exception months. And yes, looks like November worked out well. Sometimes when Thanksgiving moves around, it shifted. Yep, in December, it's gonna work out for the 16th. So we just need action. We just need you guys to own it and approve it.
Move to approve. Can you off for just a second? Because I want to see what the others are.
Okay.
Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, excellent. So I have a motion to approve by Catherine.
Second.
Okay, and we have a second. Any thoughts? So a motion by Catherine, a second by David. And I assume that this will get sent out immediately so we can add them to our calendars.
Well, the next step is then the board is the final
Oh,
decision.
okay.
So when all the committees massaged it, then it goes to you for final action. And our outreach team is preparing a glossy hard copy of the calendar with highlights of past projects and stuff. So you can all be gifted that in the new year, if not December.
Okay, great. Yes, just the faster it gets on the calendar, the better for everyone.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And then we also have to wait for the VOCC to finalize theirs, so we like are in this dance where they meet in November and do that. And as soon as that is good, then Cheryl starts sending it off. Awesome, but I'll let her know that you love getting pelted with all those, and the sooner
Yes.
the better.
And yeah, okay, so any comments? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, we have a new calendar. I cannot believe it's already November. So, yeah, I know. So this will be a really exciting
Yes,
study to hear about the Brightline Station.
another reason for hugs.
Yes.
Will it be free?
Something tells me no.
No.
But is there a way we can take this little X off? So that we can-
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you,
awesome.
Sarah.
Thank you.
Or-
That way we can
or
see all the
a podium person.
Good
Sarah.
morning, Sarah Caper, TPO staff, and I'm here with Stephanie Queen, and we're gonna be presenting on the Brightline Station area study for you this morning, and it is an action item. I'll get us started and then I'll turn it over to Stephanie. So we'll talk a little bit about the study itself and the goals, what we heard from the public, some of the analysis we did, and we developed some really cool, in my opinion, user profiles to help personalize who might be using potential Brightline Station and the station area needs a connectivity plan. So a little bit about the study itself. Our goals were to identify potential Brightline users, assess demand for multimodal connections to key destinations, evaluate mobility and infrastructure improvements, and develop an early action plan. This is not about where exactly a potential Brightline station might go, and it's really important because that's out of our control. Brightline is a private company. What we're really focused on with this study is how do people connect to a potential Brightline station? And a lot of those recommendations will be really helpful, even if Brightline doesn't come or if it goes somewhere else or something happens in the future. We wanted to still provide important connections and accessibility recommendations regardless of what Brightline does. That said, we did pick a study area and we had some conversations with Brightline along the way, and you can see here, there is a black line on the map, so we use that as our starting point, is somewhere along Nuccio Parkway between Nebraska Avenue and 13th Street. But then you see these buffered circles around it. And so that's our station area generally. We didn't look just at the line, but we looked at these different buffered areas. And you'll see later in the presentation, we also thought about going beyond this because we know people are interested in using a potential Brightline service outside of those who can easily walk or bike to the potential station. We began this study in February. We did some early work that you'll hear about a context assessment, what's already happening. There's a lot of development and changes happening in these areas we're looking at. So what is kind of a snapshot in time of what those are? We looked at some peer facilities. We also did the survey. We did those user profiles and looking at access. And then we created a conceptual connectivity plan, worked on some conclusions and needs, and we're here before you today. You are our first committee. We'll be going to BPAC tonight, to the TAC and CAC, and then the TPO board in December. A look at some of the stakeholders that were involved in our study and the study team. We worked with a number of people who are here today or your organizations, but coordinated with entities that have facilities in the area or have an interest in the area, including Friends of Tampa Union Station. We invited them to be part of our stakeholder group. We had several conversations with Tampa International Airport and Brightline. So we've listed them here as a coordinating partner. They weren't part of the study team, but we did check in with them along the way. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie, who's going to go a little bit more into the details.
Thanks, Sarah. Again, Stephanie McQueen with HDR. This was kind of a very cool study. Like Sarah mentioned, we did a context assessment at the very beginning that probably is very different now, 6 months later. We looked at land use, what the development patterns are within this area. What are some of the existing projects from the city, from HART, from FDOT? Looked at the demographics, looked at policies, land use policies, the historical preservation context, And it's probably outdated 6 months later, but the context report is available online. But that, it was kind of helpful to, understand where this area of downtown and Ybor City is at the moment, so that we could plan for the future. We also did a peer facility review. So we looked at several other existing Brightline stations to understand what amenities they have, what other multimodal connections, how do they handle bus, other rail connections, what are their drop-off conditions, what are the mixed-use retail options, how do they do wayfinding, lighting, all those kind of features that make using a station beneficial for people or make them feel safe and comfortable. Then finally, another big important thing that we did at the beginning was this public survey. And I think this was really kind of eye-opening to us how many people responded. We almost had 12,000 people respond, and this was people in Tampa Bay. We also got other TPOs, MPOs around the state to help us promote it. So we got responses from people in Miami, the Space Coast, Orlando, to understand how would they get to Tampa. We weren't just worried about like how would people from Tampa who are leaving use the station, but we kind of wanted to understand people that are coming to Tampa, where do they want to go? How do they want to get around once they get to Tampa? And there was a bit of difference between what we learned between the two pairs, but this really exemplified how much interest there is in Brightline. Again, the majority of people were departing from Tampa that took the survey because obviously they're here in Tampa Bay. There was a big interest in using a park and ride facility or getting dropped off by a ride share or someone they know. But we did see that almost 50% said that they would consider more than one option. So people aren't just thinking car, that's the only way I'm gonna get there. They were selecting more than one type of mode to get to a station. And then the same for people who are arriving to Tampa. There's a lot more interest in multimodal because they won't have a car when they arrive. They would use ride hailing, but they would also consider streetcar, local buses, the micromobility modes to get to places downtown. Then finally, just some key themes that we heard. There was a lot of excitement. Like I said, there was a lot of support for getting to some of the key destinations, getting around Tampa. They were concerned about affordability, the cost of the service. Safety was probably the number one thing we heard in terms of concern. So making sure lighting and access and wayfinding is easy was really important to people. Again, some of the other sentiments here, the comments on the right just made me laugh. There was a lot of like, please, now, I love this, do it now, like do it yesterday, get it done. But there was a lot of frustration over I-4, a lot of frustration on the congestion and things like that. So people are really excited to move this forward. And when we talked to Brightline, they're happy that we did this survey and they got such a response because it does show that demand and it shows the public support for the project. And finally, like I said, the majority of people overwhelmingly supported the service. There were obviously some naysayers who were worried about cost and the feasibility of it. So we have a huge, long survey results document that you could dig into if you're really specifically interested in what people were saying. We used that information along with our demographic research to develop these multimodal zones to identify who the potential users are. We set up 3 different zones, the quarter-mile buffer around the station. So these are people that would walk, take micromobility. They would, get to the station probably on foot or some ride share. Within a mile, those people would be more likely to bike to a station or, walk or take first mile, last mile connections. And then the larger area, the 45-minute drive shed. So this is what we assumed would be our catchment area for riders who would drive and park or take an Uber or take, some other kind of vehicle to get there. And this is kind of showing you the range of the number of people within those areas. And we kind of evaluated their different demographic, the interest that they would have in using different modes to get there. And we also did an evaluation of how many people are taking the trips now. How many people are going from Tampa within that 45-minute drive shed to the other existing and planned Brightline stations within the state. So right now, the highest number of trips that are occurring between the Tampa catchment area and these other catchment areas are between Tampa and Lakeland. It's not reflected here because those trips would likely not translate over to Brightline just because of the nature of the service. It's not really a commuter type service. So in the future, we think that the highest kind of potential pairing would be between Tampa and Orlando. And then we also saw a big interest between Tampa and Miami in the survey results. So we estimated that 28 million trips are going on right now between all of these various catchment areas around the existing and planned stations. So that does show that there is definitely opportunity to shift to a Brightline service if we just capture just a small amount of existing trips. Then, as Sarah said, we translated this into who's going to use the service, what are their concerns. We made these AI graphics that I thought were really great. We just kind of plugged in some of the characteristics of who would use it. The young professionals living downtown that want to go to Orlando Airport or Disney, the cruise travelers that want to come here from other places in the state. And we have a whole series of these, if you're interested, up on the website that kind of help put a face to the people that would use the service and what are their specific concerns about accessibility of the station, connecting to different services, the wayfinding to the destinations within the downtown. And I think these are useful to, like I said, put a face to people and not just have these, yeah, someone would use the station. Who is it? Is it a family? Is it, a single person? Is it an elderly, cruise traveler? All of that being said, we did a lot of analysis of the needs within this area. So we looked at the existing facilities that are out there, the planned projects that are going on within the station area, and we were considering that basically anything within a quarter mile of our study area. And then the greater area itself. So how would you make these regional connections to the station? You need sidewalks, bike lanes, those kind of things within the quarter mile area around the station site itself. But then within the larger area, what connections need to be made to the Tampa airport, to beaches, to even just some of the destinations in downtown Tampa itself. We met with many of you were involved in our stakeholder meetings, and we also used this project as the flip project this summer, which was really interesting to get students' perspectives on what should be at a station and what they want to see. So we got a lot of ideas. And it kind of resulted in a series of these conceptual connectivity plans, and we did them by mode because once we put everything on one map, it was an explosion. So we did that by roadway, bicycle, pedestrian, and transit. Then I think we had like just some others that were not mappable, like wayfinding and things like that. So some of the projects that we recommend on here came from, like I said, all of those meetings, the findings that we were having, just some ideas brainstorming together, and they build upon the programmed and planned projects that are already underway. So what can we do as the next step? We know things are, underway, getting planned, designed, constructed right now. What is next? What's in that next program that the local partners can do? And some of the ideas for roadway parking were reconnecting the street grid throughout the Ybor area, improving that access over Nebraska Avenue. That's kind of a choke point for bicycle pedestrian connectivity. Working on speed management on some of these roadways and waiting for the development on I-4, 275, and all the private development, because a lot of the changes were kind of driven by that private development projects, and they're reconnecting the street grid as part of GasWorks. For transit, we definitely see a need to connect the station to streetcar in some way. If it's not a direct connection, it would be, pedestrian path, wayfinding, opportunities to make it really easy for passengers transferring between the two services. So without knowing where the station is gonna be, it's still kind of a big fuzzy bubble at the moment. But we really feel like that's probably our biggest need in the future, as well as getting connections from the Marion Transit Center over to Brightline. And how that is accomplished could be a multitude of ways. But that's really important for us to point out that there's a big need to do that. And like I said, the implementation of that could be handled in a variety of ways. But making those connections to Tampa Airport, USF, downtown St. Pete, the other key destinations over in Pinellas County and Hillsborough County is really an important consideration for transit. The bicycle and shared use path. There's a few corridors that already have projects that are underway, and we think there's opportunities to enhance them, make them more dedicated, facilities that are separated. So we just kind of pointed out some of the east-west corridors here, some opportunities to connect to that green spine cycle track that is already underway, building upon the successes that we have and making this area have better east-west connection to that green spine. I think that was a big recommendation that we had. And please interrupt me if you have any specific questions or anything. On the pedestrian side of things, very similar, getting access to Museo and getting people the ability to cross over Museo is a big critical issue if Brightline is there, as well as if it's not. That's kind of a big barrier in the neighborhood again. There's opportunities for mid-block crossings, enhanced intersection improvements that would allow that pedestrian crossing over Museo, as well as Nebraska, as I mentioned before. That's kind of a choke point for the northwest or the north-south access. And on Channelside Drive itself, I know that there's some improvements underneath the Spellman at Adamo and Channelside Drive. I think that intersection is planned for some kind of improvement in the future to remove that right turn lane. That's being discussed at city or TOT. I don't know where that is in the process, but that's another kind of choke point that would be a big improvement area. And then finally, improving the technology wayfinding, make it really seamless if people have to transfer between Brightline and the other services. If you have to, figure out, okay, I paid with Brightline, then how do I pay for this? Making the integration of the transit systems easy for people. That's how you get people to use transit, is make it easy as possible. So making parking easy if they do have to park and ride, making it easy to get to transit, making it easy for them to park their bicycles and know that they have a spot that's covered and easy to rely upon in the future. So I'll turn it back over to Sarah, but thank you. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to help answer.
Thank you. And we do have the QR code to the project website where you can see all of the full documents, because we do have a series of tech memos and documents for you to explore. And so our recommended action today is that you recommend the TV board accept the Brightline Station Area Study. And we're happy to take any questions.
Okay, well, yeah, go ahead, Carrie. I've got a bunch, so. Yeah.
My question is about Hart, and Omar, I don't know whether you can answer it, but is the station also being thought of as at least a mini intermodal center for Hart? So there might be an opportunity to connect, several bus routes there as well.
I'll start, Omar, if you want to jump in, because we did have some conversations with Hart about how they see this potentially playing with their services. And some of that really depends on where it is and what the network around it looks like, because of how the different transit routes operate and how this could impact the functionality of the whole system. One of the things that we really took out of our conversations with Hart is extending routes from Marion Transit Center to this and having like a one-seat ride then to the airport or USF. But I think some of that does come down to the details of where it is, because if it's in the heart of Ybor, it might be hard to have all those buses that like go there. But I'll let Omar speak to anything else we
Yeah,
can.
I think you covered it well. I think it's primarily gonna be based on, where the station plans of going. I mean, I think, honestly, I think the closer to Marion Transit Center, it's gonna be easier to kind of like perk up those connections. And one thing, I will say we met recently, with someone who was with Broward Transit Planning, who was really involved with planning and coordinating with Brightline at the time there. I asked like, hey, how easy was it to kind of have those conversations about connection with the bus service, with Brightline? And they did say it was a challenge. They said it was a challenge because, right, it was kind of not a two-way street with the communication as far as like, what the transit agency wanted and what Brightline saw as a priority for connection. So I think whenever it kind of comes more to fruition here, like when that station becomes more real, I think we need to be very proactive with those conversations so that we're at heart, like, left out of the table.
Right, I wonder, do we have any power in that situation to kind of, this is what the community needs from your station, do you think?
I mean, I'm already having those discussions
Okay.
already, because one of the things, when we talked about the possible, expansion, for what we wanted to do with Route 1 in 2026, one of the options was a airport to downtown run. We didn't have enough buses for that, but that is pretty much the future of airport, downtown, Brightline station as being kind of a loop. Because eventually, they want to do rail, but that's at least 10 years away, even if everybody's on board. So even if we had the money drop in our lap, you can't build that right away. So what I would like to see is a dedicated bus route that gets people using the connections. And then when the actual rail comes in, if it does, people can switch to that.
Rail, you mean Ybor downtown,
Airport.
West Shore Airport, whatever.
Yeah, West Shore Airport, yeah. That's because the airport does want to come into downtown. It's just a matter of how we do that. And then if we want to connect to Brightline, because that's the number one thing that we saw was that people wanted to connect to the airport, and because of Orlando's, rule or whatever basically Orlando said, they're not allowed to connect to another airport, which makes sense. But how do we connect people then from the Brightline station to our airport? And that just needs to be seamless and part of a loop that folks can take.
I will just add that I think it sounds sexy to get to the airport, but the reality of the daily trips, I would think somewhere like USF would probably be actually more beneficial to the community.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we can do both. I mean, there's no reason we wouldn't really look at all the options. But I always like to say, you walk before you run, and walking is a bus in our case. It's just the simplest way to get it done.
Yeah. I
So,
agree.
yeah.
And CSX exists.
Yeah.
Both have been steady, both rank really, really high, so we didn't forget.
Yeah.
And I will say one more thing too. I mean, we have bus routes that do connect, like, downtown to the airport and USF to the airport. But I think it's also like, I mean, it's on part one thing to like kind of better advertise that those connections exist. We also recognize that, frequency is a challenge. I think people that want to take either transit from downtown to the airport or USF to the airport, I think they just struggle with how, like, practical it is a lot of times. So I think there's.
But we're gonna get transit signal priority at some point, remember?
Well, that's,
But yeah, I think there's a lot more collaboration and that could definitely happen to make those connections better. Yeah.
To build on your comments about the multimodal, I do think it's important to also have discussions with the private intercity bus companies, because people do, I think a lot of times we forget about them. And I mean, I was disappointed when I would see these people underneath the highway. Remember when the Greyhound bus
Yeah.
station? And I go to other cities and private bus companies are integrated in the whole system. They're leaving from the same terminal, and customers don't even know that, hey, I'm going from one system to the other almost, besides the logo change. So,
they did fix that.
Yes.
Now they do leave for Marion.
right.
Yes,
thank
but
you.
you're right.
But
You're
I
right.
do
Yeah.
think, trying to also get them to work with Brightline too, is because, Brightline could have the main route, but then to get people to Fort Myers or
Mhm.
down to Sarasota or stuff like that, yeah.
Oh, no, absolutely. And then I wanted to mention that, I mean, to talk about Nebraska. Right now, I'm working, we're redoing Union Station. And one of the things that I have been doing is trying to fix the last block connection to make the Riverwalk loop, so that that stretch of Nebraska between Twiggs and Cass. I had CRA out there. I had some of our staff out there to take a look. And then I have a coffee with Greg Slater coming up. I've already told him the idea. He loves it. So we're trying to figure out how we connect. But there is going to be a pedestrian connection kind of on the east of the Union Station. There will be some building of connection. And so between that, we're gonna fix that area, which if the bright line comes down to that triangle will be very important. The other thing, and I will thank Karen for this. Now she's got me on the bandwagon, make sure that the parking is not free. That's very critical. And so I don't care what it is, but it not being free and it not being $1 or $2, like it needs to be. And if Brightline pay, somehow you pay for it with your ticket, whatever, but just, we don't want any more free parking downtown. And then I did not see that you had the CRA on your.
CRA, we included them in the city of Tampa
Okay.
staff. So we invited from the city of Tampa, the mobility department, the CRA, and the planning department.
Okay, well, they are not part of the city of Tampa. So the
Okay.
CRA we're a wholly different entity. They're paid by the city, but they report only to us as a board.
Okay.
So,
We can clarify that.
yeah, I would just clarify that, because I guarantee that's gonna be a question from one of my fellow council members is, why is the CRA on here? So that is also, I think, very important. Anybody else thinking about ideas? Yes, Rebecca.
I didn't see the Portland mentioned, but the ships just, people get off and they need transit.
Yeah.
And a lot of them want to go to Orlando, visit the parks for a couple of days.
Yeah.
So they're having to arrange private buses and all kinds of shuttles and stuff. And literally thousands of people.
Yeah.
Get off those ships.
Definitely. And the port was part of our study team.
Okay.
So we invited them to participate and attend in.
Well, and that's where that streetcar to the Bright Line will be such an important connector.
We did account for like private drop off for, Uber, rideshare, things like that, but also there's a need for those like private shuttle vans where you're not gonna drag your giant suitcase down the street that you're going on a cruise, which is the larger. Did you show back to a cruise?
I know.
We do that all the time. They're always out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a different mode than maybe streetcar. So maybe if there's a private van pool that would take people from the port, from the ship, or either direction between the Bright Line, we've put that in there for the private vans or private shuttle buses would also have accommodation at, or as adjacent to a Bright Line station as possible.
Yeah, and I'll say I would not support that, because that's just more cars on the street. So like, we need to make it more seamless
Okay.
to use public transit to get there. I mean, the streetcar is right there. So whatever that takes, I just think that more.
I would only throw out, like, not just USF, but we have our own theme park, Busch Gardens, they're gonna want
Yeah.
just as much access,
Sure.
and they have,
That's a good.
they have the charter buses that,
Yeah.
that they drive to Orlando to SeaWorld, the shuttle,
Yeah.
back and forth. There was I'm on the National TOV Product Council for ULI, and one of the most fascinating ones we studied was, Philadelphia, Drexel University. They partnered, we had a council member with us on our council from Amtrak. And they built student housing, a high-rise student housing, but it was a quadruple decker Amtrak on the bottom, local commuter, local light rail coming in, buses. And then they had all of the ride share, local bus, charter buses
Nice.
coming down another level, so there were 4 levels below, student housing above. And we went on the top as well. The housing was amazing. It's a private university, obviously. They had an infinity pool on the top. They could see all of Philadelphia. Like, it was amazing, actually. But just the infrastructure that was built in that rail yard for Amtrak and allowing all those partners to come in and do that was fascinating. But it took a champion from Amtrak, from the local government, it took it from the university, it took a hell of a partnership to make that, not just an idea, but 8+ years of partnering and building up funding and then having it done. But if you can get Amtrak on board, it can actually work. But you gotta think outside of the box. This thing was built over this giant interchange rail yard. So it's not just building separate little buildings that connect by scooters and everything else. It's thinking way outside the box that we ever have thought of. Literally building over that thing and creating a whole new development that ties in. I'll send you some pictures.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Please, okay, just a recommendation, I've learned, that SEPTED is kind of got some criticisms regarding equity and things, so you maybe don't list it prominently in there, just borrow the concepts that work for the area. I mean, target, you just want people getting all lost in their thoughts about that, and then, like, no free parking, but like, short, like, I like the airport has short-term parking and have the curbside management, like, I need to go pick my kid up when it gets over here from the bus, so, that would be great, but not, encourage parking for hours.
And I'll clarify kind of how the report, the plan is set up. So we have these different needs and we have these concept plans and they're done. Generally, there's one that is like at a future station, like things to think about. And then there's the ones that are within the quarter mile and ones outside of a quarter mile to connect in. And we don't have a lot of, it's not specific to the level of like, put a parking garage here or do X project. Most of it is very conceptual because this is such an early plan. So this feedback's really helpful for us, but we don't have that kind of nitty gritty detail. At this point, because we don't know where the station is. But it gives some of those high levels and this feedback's really helpful for us to incorporate into some of that.
Get the horse before the train.
Well, but I mean, these are the
Yes.
existential questions and it's perfect for this particular committee.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is I know you've considered it, but it's not a reality yet, is the new I-4 stop on 14th and 15th that's happening right now. The on and off ramps are, I mean, if you haven't been down there to see how that's all working, it's very interesting. I'm not sold yet, but it's interesting. It's coming. There's no option, so we have to like get on board. But being down there on a bike recently, it's been interesting. Karen,
I had a question, and maybe you don't know the answer, but do you have a sense of how many people are aware that we currently have Amtrak service that goes to all these other cities?
A couple people, I think, in the survey recognize Amtrak and Amtrak was mentioned, so hopefully that maybe would add some promotion of it. But we don't have that specific. We didn't have that kind of specific question about like, are you aware of Amtrak or anything like that in the survey?
I think people have no idea that Amtrak goes daily to Orlando and down to Miami, and they just don't know. So I'm just curious if you had a sense.
No, I don't, but I do get the sense from talking to people that they don't know what the different types of rail services are meant to do.
Yeah.
Like intercity rail is not commuter rail. And I don't know that that message is out there, and high-speed rail isn't necessarily Amtrak. So maybe that messaging is something to consider for the next step, is really say, if you want streetcar, that's what this gets you. If you want commuter rail, that's what this is, and that's what gets you. Get intercity rail, that's Brightline is this type of service versus Amtrak's this type of service. And who is meant to use it, and what are the advantages of that service, and promote it to people in some kind of way. So I think that education of what's out there and what it's meant to do, people are saying, oh, well, I'm gonna commute to Brandon on Brightline, and it's like,
no.
no, that's not what this is. No.
And don't forget to put a vertiport on the top.
Yeah.
Exactly, David.
Just to, our station is the second busiest of the whole state.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Our Amtrak station?
Yes.
For Amtrak, yeah. It's
It
all-
is.
The auto train is the busiest. but
And I'm
we
taking
got
both. Have we all
Orlando
taken
and
both?
Miami.
I've been auto train.
So the,
I love the
Yeah.
train.
That's a space where it might work for the TPO to, create a video explaining that. I think that would be, that's well within TPO's purview. And as we continue to have these discussions, I think that would be a real beneficial.
Because it gets confused with our freight track
Yeah.
rail.
Correct,
too,
yeah.
And
I'll just
Yeah.
read on it.
And then I don't know how many times I have to tell people, oh, there's still a median reserved for transit. It's just not though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that would be helpful. Anyone else? Okay, well, we have to, can anyone want to approve the study moving forward to the next, participant study?
I'll make a motion to accept this study.
Okay, I have a motion from Emily to accept the studies.
Could I clarify, is that for the LRC too, or to recommend the TPO board accept?
Oh, which one do we need to do?
Our recommended action is to recommend the TPO board accept the study, but
Okay.
it's up to you
Alright,
to.
so I'll restate that. The LRC recommends that the TPO accepts this study.
Okay, I have a motion from Emily, and I think I heard Catherine, that's a second. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you so much. What a wonderful conversation.
Thank you for your feedback.
Yeah,
Anybody know how long it would take to go from Tampa to Miami on Brightline if we got it?
Like
How many hours?
3 hours.
3.5 hours.
3.5 hours. Oh my God.
Or no, wait, that's to Orlando right now. Orlando airport to Miami is 3 hours, so it would be probably another hour.
Horse good.
Predictably predictable.
that's where you get to sit back and read a book.
That could be part of like an educational.
Yeah.
And that's predictable.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, the times.
And I'd be remiss,
Too, like
Yes.
comparison, like driving, parking versus a ticket and parking. Would be
well, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it because someone always mentions it. Like Brightline and their safety issues are just a huge problem. And so that's something that always has to be talked about when we talk about Brightline. So.
Which one next? Hearts next.
The transit development plan, yay.
Let's keep on choo-chooing.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you all.
2 LRC presentations, I guess. So
Yeah.
it's fun. Okay, so, on the Roadways Committee, as you guys know me, I said over there usually, my name is Omar. On the Roadways Committee, I'm also hard staff. And I'm here to present on the 2026-2035 Transit Development Plan Annual Progress Report. So for those who might not know exactly what a transit development plan is, the transit development plan, also known as a TDP, is a multi-year financial operating plan that's used for a transit agency. It's also a requirement that every transit agency in the state of Florida needs to have one that's developed and adopted and submitted to FDOT. And that is how we receive our state funding. So it's a state requirement as well. So we have 2. We have the TDP major update that we have to do every 5 years. And then for the in-between years, we have annual progress reports, and that's what I'm presenting on today. So the TDP annual progress report is going to be due March 1st, 2026, or due by FDOT. That's what I'm presenting on here today. And then next year, we're going to be kicking off work on our next major update. That'll be due in 2027. So stay tuned for that. So just kind of going over, the components of a TDP annual progress report. So just to highlight a few, it includes past year transit agency accomplishments compared to the original implementation program, a revised implementation program for the new 10th year of finance plan, a revised financial plan, and a revised list of projects or services needed to meet the goals and objectives of the transit agency. Additionally, in 2024, FDOT and the state revised some of the TDP rules as well. Pretty minor changes overall, but the key ones being that it changed the submittal deadline from September 1st to March 1st, so it pushed it back a bit. And the good part of it too was also requiring more enhanced collaboration with the MPOs and TPOs to ensure more comprehensive regional transit planning. So pretty much just in TDPs going forward, agencies need to document, how we collaborate and connect with our respective TPOs and MPOs. So next, I'm going to go over some of the accomplishments that we highlighted in our TDP annual progress report that we'll be submitting to FDOT. So this one, I'm sure you guys are all very familiar with. It's the fare-free Route 1 pilot. As you all know, the Route 1 is fare-free through January 4th, 2026 as part of a pilot program, thanks to the city and Councilmember Hurtak. Thank you. It's funded by the city. It's important because it's the future bus rapid transit corridor as well, which is the TPO top transit priority. And also since the pilot, we've been happy to see that, our ridership has really grown. We're seeing 5,000 weekday daily riders, 2,500 weekend daily riders. It's also provided better service and faster speeds for our riders. And we're happy to say that the frequency improvements are to continue after the end of the fare-free pilot. Here it says pending city Tampa approval, will be notice approved now. So thank you again. Next, this is what I presented on last local roadways committee is the comprehensive operational analysis that HART has been conducting. So this is again a review of HART's entire system, proposing short-term improvements. We conduct these every 5 to 7 years as best practice, and we completed public outreach for the project in the month of September and October. We presented this project to the TPO board and committees in October 2025. And the proposed service changes, which are going to be voted on during the January 2026 HART board meeting, will go into effect in June 2026. Here, I just wanted to highlight some of the great work that our HART outreach team has been doing the past year. This includes events such as, Black History tours, summer youth presentations. We have staff that, does the Great American Teach-In to, teach students about what HART does for them and careers at HART. Back to school events, hurricane preparedness, flamingo fairs outreach, and then outreach on those 2026 proposed service changes. So there's a lot of moving parts at HART, and we try to let the community know, what's going on. And then finally, I wanted to touch on the heavy maintenance facility phase 1. So we're happy to say that phase 1 of the heavy maintenance facility is fully funded. That's about a $29 million project. It's going to provide the following enhancements for the main HART facility. It includes a new fleet service facility, better security and fencing and lighting for our facility, stormwater improvements that are greatly needed, and support for a fleet of 250 CNG buses. And then we have phase 2 as well, but that will require additional funding. I know this is kind of back end stuff. This is maybe stuff that you see, like on the road when you're looking at HART buses, but these improvements are going to just make HART more reliable, more dependable, and, serve the community better.
How many buses do you have now?
We have a fleet of about 130.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our max pullouts, the max buses that we put on the road is 104. So we have a spare fleet as well. Next, I'm going to go over the transit needs that were identified originally in the TDP major update and that we've highlighted and, provided updates on in the annual progress report. And I just want to point out as well that a lot of this list, this was made during the 2022 major update. And we're going to be looking at really updating and refining this list for the next major update. And we're going to make sure that you all are part of that conversation. So here's a pretty simple table showing just our, what's funded as far as our service. So that includes our existing service, as you see there, and also the Route 1 frequency improvements for weekday and weekend service for a year as well. Our funding, again, for that is from the city of Tampa. I know it's spending there, but not pending anymore. Thank you again. So that shows that, what's funded for HART. These are the funded capital improvements. So just kind of want to highlight again that heavy maintenance facility phase 1, which is a big project with a lot of collaboration and partnership on that one. It includes also our replacement of our 40-foot put diesel buses with CNG, which has been an ongoing transition. Replacement of our air transit and flex vans, getting them modernized and making sure they're more dependable. Phase 2 of the streetcar rebuild and the CAD ABL ITS system and radio project, which is going to enhance communication across the HART system. Okay, and here's what I think is probably the more fun slide, or sad, depending how you look at it, because it shows, all the needs that we've identified for our agency for frequency. So you see we have our four routes that we've identified for needing 15-minute service. These are our busiest routes, as you all know, the 1, but that also includes the 6, the 34, the 400. Those routes currently run at 20-minute service, at 20-minute frequency, but we've identified them for needing 15-minute service if funding were available. That also includes, moving some of our 30-minute routes to 20-minute service and some of our 60-minute routes for 30-minute service. So I know here it kind of looks a bit like a laundry list, and it kind of is, but part of what we're going to be doing for a TDP major update is actually prioritizing these based on community needs, based on, what connections the community identified as important and our stakeholders. So we're going to do more of that work, going on for the major update. So as far as our next steps, we're going to be submitting this TDP annual progress report to FDOT by March 1st, 2026. We're going to continue coordination and collaboration with our partners at the Hillsborough TPO, FDOT, and our other agency partners. And most excitingly, we're going to be kicking off our TDP major update next year. I'm going to be really, again, refining what we have here. And again, prioritizing our projects and trying to move our agency forward. So with that, that concludes the presentation. If you have any questions or comments, happy to answer anything. Thank you.
I have a quick question. When is the heavy maintenance, now that it's funded, when do you believe it will start?
So we're gonna start construction on, it's kind of in phases,
Sure.
within the phase 1,
Oh, yeah.
but we're hoping to have most of it kind of started by 2029 and then, completed by 2020.
Okay.
My bad.
I was like, wow.
And then, yeah. So, and again, we're kind of like ongoing, breaking ground on things slowly,
So you've already started?
pieces of.
Okay, yeah, no, that's
We're
all.
kind of in the design phase of
Yeah.
parking right now, but yeah. So,
Great. Well, hopefully you'll have a big, shovel, kickoff,
oh, yeah.
getting ready. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think people would be excited to know about that. You've been fighting for that for a long time, so we should all be able to celebrate that with you.
yeah, it's exciting, especially, just to kind of highlight again, the stormwater improvement.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really needed.
Yes.
During the last hurricane, I will say, last hurricane season, it got pretty bad, and it really just kind of highlighted the need for improvements, because again, I don't know if any of you have been to that facility before. If you guys ever want to come, happy to give you a tour. But yeah, it definitely needs some work, and this is kind of our main priority right now, because it's just kind of like make our service more reliable, because it's gonna help, like our maintenance and fleet maintenance facility workers, pretty much better. They're gonna be able to do the job better, with these improvements, so.
Excellent. Excellent. Yes, Rebecca.
If we could do a field trip, let's finish.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
That's a good future.
Karen?
Okay. It's all good now.
You can do one now too.
Yeah, I want to do one for sure.
Okay, I'm gonna add that to the list.
Okay.
And, yeah, we've been before. It's frightening.
Yeah.
Frightening?
It's very frightening over
Yeah.
there. It leaking, I mean, that's why it's their number 1 priority. It's.
Yeah.
Befores and afters.
Yes.
Okay.
Omar, what's maybe the previous slide, the streetcar? That's,
Oh, the wreaths,
yeah,
car
streetcar
rebuild.
rebuild, the
Um,
actual cars, or what is that?
it is specifically for the streetcar barn, just some improvements that we need to make there. We did recently have one of the streetcars that was being reconstructed come back.
Yep.
We actually, fun fact, by the way, all of our streetcars are built in a small barn in Iowa. That's the only place that makes streetcars anymore that we can use. So they all like take a while to be built, and then we have a truck come and pick it up from Iowa and then bring it back to the streetcar barn. It's like a whole process.
Is that a field trip?
If you want.
They did a big thing on social
Yeah.
media about it. It was very exciting. If you don't follow Heart, you should.
I'm gonna go that to move it. Billy first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's mostly like streetcar barn improvements, just trying to, like improve operations there because, yeah, I mean, you have the heavy maintenance facility, that's like our main bus yard and then, our administrative office and where the streetcars pull out from, there's just like maintenance improvements that need to be made there as well.
Anyone else? Well, thanks for the update.
Yeah.
It's always great to know what's going on with Heart.
Yeah, thank you. And again, the major update that we're gonna be kicking off for next year, you're gonna be seeing, our staff presenting on and having public outreach for that coming up. So again, stay tuned for that, and it's gonna help, kind of this laundry list. I'm sorry, right here, and this kind of focuses on the short-term improvements as well. We also have like our long-term, like routes we want to bring back maybe, or new routes that we're looking at. Again, all pending funding, but we want to make sure we put it in the plan and identify what the community needs are. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay. We have the Transportation Systems Management and Operations Master Plan.
Right, and I don't see Raphael online or anyone from Hillsborough County Public Works. And no one's in the room. So Ben Gordon, would you please join us in here to move on to your presentation? Maybe he'll join us later or we'll table this till next month.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Anybody have any exciting stuff? In the meantime, anybody have any new business, or old business?
You have one else.
Wow, never mind. Like, ask and you shall receive. My goodness.
Right now.
I'm magic.
You are. Good morning.
Good morning, Ben Gordon, TPS staff. It's great to see you all. And this will be a relatively quick status report. I'm just dropping by to provide an update on our plans in TPO for to conduct a new series of multimodal traffic counts. Do we have the map?
Yeah, I think if you just click on the Chrome there, it'll pop it right open.
Thanks.
I thought it was on that website already. Maybe it's under Edge instead. If they're either way.
Excellent. So as all of you probably know, we have maintained this consolidated database of just traffic counts for all the major roads throughout our county. And the most recent counts were conducted in 2024. Those were all vehicular. And it includes just 2-day average volume, the average annual daily traffic, and then the level of service report for the roadways in the TPO network. And then we have a historical traffic counts report that compiles jurisdictional data from 1995 to 2021. And then 2 years ago, in late 2023, we also commissioned a set of multimodal counts. These were including vehicular, bicycle users, and pedestrians at 80 locations all across Hillsborough County's high injury network. Those were 24-hour counts to be used cameras and had just our partners at the Nash go through the data and manually count each user at those locations. And we have this really neat dynamic map available on the site that all of you can take a look at. It's not loading at the moment, but you know how these things
This
go.
Wi-Fi is weird.
Well, we can wait for that. But in
It
the
is
meantime,
interactive.
I just wanted to open up by sharing some maps of our previous counts that I printed earlier. And if any of you would like, you can mark out new locations, just write down a specific spot. You can use Google Maps to sort of triangulate. But we just want as much feedback from our jurisdictional partners, all of you as that. Yes, and that was everything. Yeah.
Reload.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, there it goes, sort of.
Okay, here we go.
Yay.
So these are just only the multimodal counts from 2023. You can alter the layers here. But you'll see the way that the graphics can represent the higher bicyclist users, higher pedestrians, by both the colors and the size of the dots. And this next round of counts that we have in the works will be looking into bicyclists, vehicular users, and pedestrians all combined, hopefully under one console. They'll be integrated probably the largest so far.
What would that be, Ben?
To be determined.
We're anticipating using up any leftover planning dollars. We're hoping for as many counts as we can do. So that will be our fiscal year end, which is, end of May. Before then, get a consultant run out, get the counts.
I know you already said this, but can you repeat what we're looking at on this map?
Yes, this is a map of the 2024 counts, particular, I believe, and yeah, those are just each count station.
Oh,
But
so
these
where
are-
the camera
these are just-
locations, yeah.
These
Yeah.
are just vehicular?
Yeah, let's see, I can change the layers to match.
That says twenty
Oh, that's,
twenty-three, and you said 2024. Which is it?
oh, yeah, I'm sorry, that was 2024. It looks like that's not integrated into this map at the moment. I was, yeah.
And I would assume that if there's a dot on this map that is not on one of the main roads, I would assume it's like just a collector or that we're counting. We're not counting on local roads.
Yeah, a local road, it could also be a trail.
Oh.
Oh, wait, no, actually, that's. Yeah, just a local road.
I'm sorry, I need a little bit of clarification if
Yeah,
that's
go ahead.
okay. All right, so I think you passed out, this is vehicular counts from 2024 on the printed map in front of us. And
Yes,
you're looking for input for your next round of multimodal
Exactly.
counts, which will be for vehicles plus people walking and biking.
exactly.
Do you think that there will ever be just the best practice that every time we go out and do a count, we would do all of the modes out there? Is that kind of what you're?
Yeah,
working
I
toward?
think that begins with this round in particular, having an integrated data collection approach that includes bicycles and pedestrians.
Well, and I have a question about that because like, how do you categorize a scooter?
I think that in the past, they were folded into the bicycle category, but that's definitely worth looking into.
I mean, and, wheelchair user as well. I mean, you probably count them as pedestrian, but I have noticed, the new protected bike lane on Florabraska. I have noticed people in wheelchairs using that now, which is pretty awesome.
Really?
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
easier than the sidewalks.
Yeah.
Walks a little wrong.
yeah, it's more room. So
Are you saying, Lynn, that you think it's important that we separate people on bike, people on scooter?
not necessarily. I'm just curious where that is because I think I just feel like things with wheels that are not cars if we kind of put them more together, we might have a better idea of how people are getting around. I mean, a pedestrian versus someone in a wheelchair is wild. It's very different. They have different needs and different, you can walk around a pole on a sidewalk. You can't get around on a wheelchair. So I just curious. And that is why people are starting to use the bike lanes, because they're just much better. I've seen people in wheelchairs on the protected bike lane on Cass as well. So it's good. That's the whole point, to be multimodal, but
Yeah, I used to see runners.
yes,
Using that.
yeah. Emily.
Remind me of and sorry if I'm repeating, it's the methodology for doing the multimodal counts.
Yeah, absolutely. So we counted bicyclists, pedestrians.
Right, but like how? Like,
It was
is it a machine?
cameras that were set up on often traffic signs,
Okay.
and it just collected video data over 24-hour intervals. We only did it during weekdays, just to avoid skewing the data when school children were out on weekends. And we avoided school holidays too. But
I see several red dots up around the Pasco County line that Tampa requested. Why?
That's,
Because we go all the way.
yeah, we go all the way there. That's,
Their jurisdiction.
yeah, the city, remember, we have that.
Camera ranch.
Yeah.
Camera ranch border.
And there's a lot of Pasco, Hillsborough interaction.
Well, there's getting ready to be a whole lot of the 301 traffic because we have a major landowner up there that's trying to change the land use and the density right at the state park. And that will never be an urban service area, not anytime soon.
So that might be a input for Ben to consider that.
It's on that. That's another question that popped in my head, because you mentioned that you do weekday counts to not skew the data. Do you do like any weekday, Monday through Friday? Or I know, like, I'm asking to the part, when we look at our on-time performance data, like we'll look at Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because those look
Yeah.
days for traffic. Do you guys have any, like, do you discriminate between Mondays, Fridays, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
during that multimodal count that I conducted, we just didn't distinguish, we just did weekdays only, but it's still not determined for this count exactly how we'll handle it.
I think that's good input.
That is a great idea.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Tuesday through Thursday.
Definitely.
Lisa?
Okay, one, I want you to remind all the jurisdictions that this resource exists. So like when I worked with the school district, they have to have counts to do a hazardous walking conditions audit. And so knowing that these were out here, they just, they wanted to like hug me. So that. Also, you guys do counts jurisdictions. So new people at the team and stuff. If you share them with us, then we put it on this one-stop shop location. So, and then, you can use it there. So Hillsborough County has a lot of counts that they pay for. We're going to pay for as many as we can. Ben's asking for input, is there any new location or should we retire a location? Sometimes it's great to do year over year comparisons. It might be nice to know that something's slow on a Monday, but if we don't count on a Monday, we won't know that, so this is all good because you will write a scope to afford as many as possible and use as best the technology does. Like the technology right now may or may not discern between a wheelchair and a scooter, but it may just be wheeled, but it could be really, really great. It's better than in the past when we had that human power out there. Those were very expensive. And yes, we are trying to count everybody now, not just cars.
With that in mind, that you are looking for additional locations, when do you need that? Because I feel like there's certain areas I might know and everybody in this room, but there are larger bodies of people that may be able to contribute thoughts and where they see needs, they see concerns.
I think maybe end of December would be good. I'll keep working on time. I'll send something.
Yeah, because like I said, he's gonna scope it and encumber the money before the end of fiscal year. So our school district staff, if you or someone in the department of your transportation department have locations that are gonna be near potential new school sites or et cetera, if you give them over to Ben Gordon, he can make sure that we consider that and what we can afford to add up to new locations. So.
And Karen, go ahead.
Well, this sounds like a great win, that there's finally gonna be some parity in what we count. It's not just cars. So kudos to whoever made that happen. I know it's something we've been advocating for. We've worked closely with the West Shore Alliance on this kind of thing. I just want, could you walk us through what happens with all the data that's collected?
Well, we're definitely going to try to integrate it into this live map. It will be made available to decision makers, policy makers for things like land use decisions, for example. Go ahead.
But another one, like I made a note, I don't see the Manhattan Henderson counts that we paid for through a safety study on here, but I have shared them with the team and might just be a little delay getting them added. So that's one way we use it, like to ensure we know what's going on with a particular location. So we know what recommendations to make. And yes, they're there for all our jurisdictions to go borrow and use it as needed. And that school example is one of them, but we use them all the time. That's why we need it.
David, had a question.
Yes, the pinch points. Like, I'm looking at like 301 at the river. It's a pinch point because there's only so many ways across the river. I do think we should identify these pinch points because I see a lot of people going over that bridge and I walk that bridge and the walkway's very tiny on it. So, I would think something like that right near the river would be good. I would think another pinch point, 301 under the interstate as you go north. I see a lot of, I saw people walking in the middle of the interchange just yesterday because it's the only way to get north out of because there's a wall with the interstate there. So I think having them at pinch points should be, because that's really, we're not going to remove the pinch point, but we could better design like your flow through there won't be like you're taking your life in your hand like a 30175. So that would be my kind of recommendation.
Catherine?
It's just kind of a bigger thought. It's not fully thought through. So, but, just for the mechanics behind this, all the private development that has to do traffic studies, they pull background data studies that are done by the different jurisdictions. So they pull the background traffic data and feed that into the traffic studies. However, for private development, at the local level, the code still just does vehicles. You're still just counting vehicles. So there's gotta be a way to make that bridge. Otherwise, private development never has to answer to any of that. All the other multi-modes, which could be a benefit to the development as well, if they're actually allowed to target bicycles, pedestrians and other modes to offset some of the parking, which would then translate into parking regulations and how you offset those. And I had another thought, I'm thinking policy wise, and could update. It's about.
Maybe in the code update, they could.
Yeah, this is something to think through.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, and not only that, I mean, there are some new possible legislation coming through the legislature this session, particularly around ADUs. But they are not going to require additional parking. And that's going to be a mandate.
So
So,
you don't have it anyway. CP does though, oddly enough.
yes, but right now that we have very limited places for ADUs.
Yeah.
So Lisa,
Okay, and then historical, like, I don't know, 301 was just the 2-lane. We have the historical counts. Now that's gonna get widened. We'll have those counts. And then future fast forward, when that development's in place, we'll have those counts. So that's another use. So speaking of that, like Thea's got some new roads, so that might any of the new roads might be new locations because nobody asked about those in the past. So 19th, Citrus Park Drive and stuff. And then I wanted to ask, because you guys have these great live multimodal counters on CAS and other locations, and I don't see that on our multimodal count portal here. So it'd be nice to get that added. So which person on staff is managing the website data? Is that you or someone else?
I think Jason and Priya were involved in the data integration of this map.
Okay, so
So,
we need to have some coordination.
yeah, can we add Ben as the point of contact? 'Cause we're wrapping up a bunch of counts that we could share.
And then you'll be responsible for getting it to the right GI.
Right.
I see
Just-
Jason Jumpman making a note too.
Yeah. You guys have like counters around that are permanent, right? So
We have
it'd be
one.
really great to have that on here.
There's one that the city put out. We have both done temporary counts.
Uh-huh.
Um,
But
that could also be
Is that
fed.
already on there?
I mean, I know Wade Reynolds was involved, but I don't know whether it
Okay.
translated on.
Well, this,
Or not.
put that under staff, you put that under staff.
Are you still targeting just the high injury network, or you're just saying
It's
anywhere?
pretty much wider.
Yes, you are.
Wide open. Target the high injury network, but it won't be limited to that.
A little bit of a tangent, but
Sure.
we have our intern right now doing research on best practices on riding electric wheeled vehicles on sidewalks. It's pet peeve of mine in downtown. And I don't know whether there's room for any of that animalization as well, but if people are riding 20, 25 miles an hour on a sidewalk, like that is not fair to people walking. So I don't know if that's maybe like one little element of the scope for Benish or not, but I'm
Well,
just a little bit on a rampage.
I will
right now.
tell you that there is actually an ordinance this week in Tampa City Council to limit bicyclists on major roadways and on some of that stuff and I'm having
On
trouble
the
with
roadway?
it. Not on the roadway, on shared use paths. And we already have a rule, it's just not followed through with.
Okay,
So, yeah,
I'll follow up with you.
well, if
To
you,
me, it's a speed limit thing.
No, for
You
this,
ride an
they
electric bike
want us-
5 miles an hour,
Yeah.
fine.
yeah, no, this is a punitive thing that would charge, give fines to people who bike. It's
Oh.
absolutely terrible.
Okay,
Yeah, if you wanna do a walk bike letter about it, that would be awesome.
It's this week.
Yes, it's Thursday. It is, oh gosh, it's number. Tell you exactly what number on the agenda it is, because I've been fighting with them on this for a while.
who's them?
It's,
City legal staff, number 66. On our agenda this week, and it's TPD that wants to be able to stop people and find them, but it's mainly.
That's gonna go well.
Yeah, and it's mainly children, and so that's the part, and so my feeling is we already have set speed limits on the Riverwalk, and I mean, mainly this is a Riverwalk issue, but they already have speed limits, so they can already stop people.
Yeah.
But
And if they're children, they're probably not wearing helmets and they can stop them for that. There's plenty of them.
ex-
Do they not understand the PR nightmare they faced in the past? So they want to do it again?
yes, they do, so absolutely, feel free to like,
Tampa's finding there's no room.
Can I
Oh,
ask?
God, that's.
Because it's thing you provided,
would think.
I'm for speeding, John.
No. No,
Yeah.
I think that would be part of the, hey, we've
Yeah.
had 46 speeding violations or something that we
Yeah.
enforce, but I think,
But I
I
didn't ask.
personally, I don't think they enforce it, so
no, they don't.
nobody knows about it, and
Okay.
Barrett, an intern. I serve on the Florida Bicycle Pedestrian Safety Coalition, and this is a hot button, and they have all kinds of resources to research this type of stuff. In fact, I had a note to myself already, like I've cut and pasted all of the great links and data they have on e-bikes and all that, same thing. Like the e-bikes and scooters are super fast and coming with pedestrians, and it's very sticky. I think I've texted you about like all the great stuff that we
Yeah.
were sending last month. So they've followed up with some, I'll send those,
Okay, thanks, appreciate
because she did really smart people.
Yeah.
Some advocacy groups in response to this, small wheels for safe lives or something like that. I just incorporated.
I mean, and we were just, my girlfriend and I were on the Riverwalk on Saturday, and it was a guy on just a regular bike that was just going incredibly
Yeah,
fast.
it's more
And so
speed.
It's not, it's a speed issue.
Right.
It's not, and I mean, our council by and large has not supported finding children for anything, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Thursday. So yeah,
Yeah.
any sort of advocacy, we read emails. So feel free to number 66.
Sure, Finn will be tuning in.
Yes.
I just wonder what's happened to courtesy. That's all.
I know.
Well, and that's
I
part,
mean,
yeah.
growing up in Sarasota, I rode my bike on the sidewalk, not the street, but if there was a pedestrian, I would either get off back onto the street, go into the grass, and then stop and walk past them. If there's a stroller, I mean, what happened? I was even as a kid. I
Well,
didn't do that.
So my argument was, well,
Common courtesy.
what do we do about the people who walk 5 abreast? Like, why aren't we gonna find those people? Like, if you're really going to
Yeah.
like, talk about.
We would also go single file if there was someone.
I mean, and that's exactly it. It's just, how do you, and I don't think legislating common courtesy is a way to solve
Yeah.
the problem.
I mean, obviously, the demand is there for more safe space for people to walk and bike.
Yeah,
The answer
exactly.
really is make it wider or divide it. There's a lot of places that have pedestrians on one side, bicyclists and motorized stuff on the other side. It's like, there's a way to figure this out without punishing people.
Correct, and that's really the overall, like, how do we wanna, and I tried to engage on that and it did not work, so. Hopefully if others want to engage on that, it might be more successful.
You read emails.
We do,
Okay.
our council is very big on emails, so if people start writing about it, we will listen.
What would we be teaching our kids?
Yeah.
To not go outside.
The drives,
Because they
drive a
really-
car.
Yeah, that's basically it, and
There's an attitude out there. I had a lovely conversation with a gentleman this morning as I was walking a group of students in a walking school bus to school who said that they should get off the sidewalk because they were too slow.
what?
There's a lot of different.
It's a
attitudes out there.
sidewalk.
We are not supposed to be legislating all of them.
Correct. It's just, it's learning how to work together, and after COVID, it has been very hard. People, but it's starting to turn around. Like, I really do feel it. Community. I mean, there are some people who will never learn, but by and large.
New York City had a campaign that was called Don't Be a Jerk.
Yeah,
thought-
maybe we need that. Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. Don't be a jerk.
Sorry, tangent.
No, actually, but that's what, again, what this board, that's what we've been wanting to do, is to create conversations and safe places to talk about these things. And I actually really love that. I'm gonna look into the Don't Be a Jerk PSA.
Target Zero has some of those too. It's like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, but I think,
You know.
honestly, you kind of have to fight fire with fire sometimes, and just like, not just
They
don't
have
be kind, or be kind, just be like, don't be a jerk. Sometimes you just gotta call it out for what it is. But you're not using that language, so we're good to go. Jerk is still not super nice, but not,
Prohibited.
Yeah,
Correct.
if you just do a search, a bunch of stuff,
Okay.
so.
great, excellent. I wrote the notes down. Any other things about this? This sounds like we're gonna have a great,
I'd
Yes,
I'd
David.
say from the enforcement side, bicycles, pedestrian. Usually it was an after the fact, after a crash, that's when it was ticketed. It's really hard to chase down someone and enforce it, so that's usually how it goes, especially on the trails, so it'd be interesting to see what happens.
These cases have been going real well
I-
in Tampa Valley. I'm the one that says there.
anything else?
Send your ideas, and locations and
Okay,
input.
thank you.
It's gonna have a great project to do.
I can put out my email in the chat if that's been help.
Honestly, I think what would be helpful for us is to send out an email with the link to the map and a link, and maybe CCU. Because for me, if I can't just click on it, I don't have the time to go searching. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
He's reading a lot.
Yeah, I do. I read every email.
You go right when you want it requested and get all the right materials and any attachments like the past report and stuff that might be helpful to some of our technical staff. So, and I'll get it.
Just as a reminder, the Florida Department of Transportation has a statewide micromobility counting or not, they call it non-motorized count program.
Right.
And they also have a map
Yeah.
that has all of the state's counts on it, and they want the locals to feed into that statewide map. So I don't know whether we want to do that, but I'm just kind of reminding that that is also there as a resource. And they've got a ton of information about, you know, the different methods you can use to do the counts and webinars, and it's a good project.
Yes, and it's been presented here. Yeah, so I put a note in our TPO discussion was for us to coordinate all of this.
Yeah.
Why, might be because of staff turnover, but it's not us. Yes.
Anything else? Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
And,
Sure.
so new business?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Anything?
Okay.
Okay. All right, let me start with some housekeeping. Reminder, I get to be the mom of Livable today. Remind you, do the RSVP click. So when you get your agenda a week out, if you would just go in and click whether you know, are presuming you're gonna be here, that helps us not freak out the day of, like, I had 5 RSVPs when I took over for governor. Oh my God. Yeah, so it helps us know if we're gonna have an issue and follow up. Okay. Selfishly, I was here on Manhattan Henderson and we had a great charrette, but we're also doing a virtual participation. So please, if you haven't already, go online and comment. I'm gonna post it on Friday as a reminder that you have till the end of the month to provide feedback. I know many of you have really great feedback to, and if you could share with your groups. All right, next month is anticipated to be one of the first Livable Roadways field trips. It's being, you know, so as long as they're good, you know, works out, Connor's anticipating taking you on one of the little field trips. I noted your other 2 ideas today to share with them.
Where?
I think it's the community garden near the parking garage.
Oh, I was just there yesterday. It's phenomenal.
Okay, I think it's anticipated, maybe got a guest speaker, I don't know, but, that's, and then, I think it's kind of nice that we have.
Whiting and Morgan.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
Rebecca, we'll go check it out.
Okay.
We'll go on. We have 3 Walk by Tampa award recipients here in the room, and we're having a little reunion, so congratulations to my other, award winners. So I think this is a great committee that has meaningful conversations like we did today, and we're spreading it in the community, and there's my evidence. All right, so.
Lisa, what award did you win?
The Golden Sneaker Awards for supporting pedestrian things.
I won the Golden Pedal Award for my Easy Sunday morning rides.
And
And I won the Volunteer of the Year award because I am not able to see
there you go. All right.
Well deserved, all 3.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, and then I would like to have, 5 minutes with you after the meeting.
Okay.
I didn't need anything.
And, oh yeah, go right ahead.
In late October, there was a bicyclist hit and killed on Progress right over 7-5. And again, a pinch point. People are transiting, they have to use that corridor. That road is very dangerous because it's a bridge, there's these semis going over it, and there's a breakdown lane, there's no sidewalk, no anything. So you've got people walking and biking in this breakdown lane with semis going by. It's a 1-lane road, one lane road in each direction at that point, and the road leading up to it on both sides is like 2 or 3 lane wide and funnels into this one, so there's always traffic. I do think maybe seeing if we can reach out to, I would assume that's a county.
Progress Boulevard,
Progress Boulevard.
301?
Bridge, you know.
is it
I know
301 or the interstate?
It's over
It's
75.
right over, the person was killed right over 75, like leading up, right at near the top of the hump. And I don't know if and I ride that road, there's potholes, and I see trucks to avoid the potholes go in the breakdown lane, so I don't know what happened, but it was like something, disaster waiting to happen. So maybe, I don't know, if a future meeting, we could bring that up.
Or under old
Or-
business next month.
Old
maybe
business
Rebecca
or something,
can pull
or,
this out with that, because I do believe that it's in the work program, but you know how long the
Oh,
lead
yeah.
time is.
and I don't know if
Because the
there's,
community plan supported it, I think that works, and I think it's, yeah.
and I don't know if there's something like cheap to do to maybe hey, we'll create, because there's a breakdown lane on both sides, maybe, hey, this is where you should walk, and we'll put little, you know, something,
Little ballards.
dividers or something
Yeah,
at that, so then they feel a little buffered more from the.
it's probably some less expensive things we can do until we get fixed.
And then note it under old biz next month,
And
that maybe you can tell us who and how. Or maybe this Raphael guy can tell us when he comes back next month.
I know it's still pretty sensitive, but, you know, what occurred in Ybor. I know there's a lot probably going on in the city about, dealing with that. I don't know if we want to, we should kind of meeting or like discussion about it as a group or anything we could.
Well, I have asked the chief of police to have a meeting, a listening session to let the community talk, but there's a story in the paper today that basically the city of Tampa says, no, we are not closing that street. And I think there needs to be a bit more conversation before we just unilaterally decide not to close it.
Well, and, you know, I'm not saying I'm for closing it.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
not even, we need to have discussion.
There's
Yeah.
multiple things, like just in front of this building, we have bollards and stuff, because, you know, like,
We are talking about that sidewalk bollards,
right,
but,
that might also help,
No,
you know, diverting.
just don't drag race.
Right, don't,
well, but
yes,
But also, I mean, you know, TPD does a great job of not racing or not chasing. Like that's our policy in the city of Tampa. And so, you know, we're looking for folks to then advocate to the state. If we want the FHP policy changed as well, or maybe once you get inside a jurisdiction, like whatever it is, you know, our folks do a great job of using the helicopter. And that's like one of the reasons I go up in the helicopter, just to see that type of thing. So we aren't chasing, and that really has saved a lot of lives. And the rule, or, I mean, I'm sure everybody's read the stories behind it, but we're not really having conversation about it yet. City council, our hands are pretty tied on that. It's really administrative decision, but I expect we'll have a lot of public comment about it on Thursday.
yeah. I know our powers are limited here at this committee, but, you know, if the committee in a future meeting wanted to encourage the TPO to do something, you know, and write a letter to the TPO board, I don't know if that would help down the chain of, hey, even, you know, the TPO board has discussed it. I don't know. Like,
The TPO did start their meeting, the first one right after the event, and it acknowledged and said something about the victims, but no action from staff to study anything.
right, so, yeah, I'm not saying two-step, I'm just saying, I don't know if we want to reserve time in a future meeting for.
To discuss what, I'm not clear what the request is.
Yeah, what would you want to talk
Perhaps
about?
we could discuss open street policies and how effective they have been in other communities and how policing has been handled around open streets. To see whether that would be feasible within.
Oh,
City
okay,
of Tampa.
like we do for ideal review, okay,
Right,
okay.
so I mean, although there's a lot of other cities around the country that, I mean, Miami,
Well, like
Miami, for
downtown can be
example,
closed.
closes
Okay,
down
gotcha.
the road along South Beach during certain times of day. How has that worked for them? Has that been effective? Have they had difficulties with policing that area? How have they modified their policing? Like, I've observed some of the answers to that, but that might be something more useful to share in a study type.
Sure.
And yeah, and we're doing
Feel that.
we're doing I've been working on a workshop idea around a lot of this. And so now we've kind of changed it to coalesce around speed. So we're one of the things we're also accepting on Thursday is, I want to say it's like $600,000 from the state for extra patrols around speed and aggressive driving from TPD. And they get these grants all the time to one of them's for motorcyclists, one of them is for alcohol. So we get money from the state for overtime for officers to focus on these things. But I really wanted to, one of the things I'm working on with our mobility department is talking about speed and just in general. And because that's the conversation that we all want to have.
I would
So-
encourage you with those studies. In some of our CTST meetings, there has been some discussion about the effectiveness of those studies.
It's not a study.
Well, or I'm sorry, not a study,
Effort.
the efforts, the increase, the the funding that the grants that they get to be able to do, increase, DUI, increase speed management, whether these are changing the kinds of results that we see. Because what I had heard at a most recent CTST meeting from some of the law enforcement is they are not finding all of them in the way they're doing them effective, but the state keeps giving them money. So within our jurisdiction, we might choose to look at different ways to employ those funds that might perhaps better address some of the issues.
That's what I was writing down. And if it's high visibility enforcement.
Yeah.
Well, I know there's a alcohol one
Acronym.
for sure.
All right, well,
And that's at the alcohol one specifically one where they're.
Yeah.
Like, no change to getting worse, so maybe we need to.
right, they have, yeah,
I was just gonna
they have
suggest
what they
it
enforce the
include
speed limit stuff.
maybe automated enforcement is the way.
Well, and that's where I was focusing, but the state does not want cities to gain money. This is basically, I was told by lobbyists that that the state does not want the city of Tampa to make more money off of this. And I basically said, I don't want the money. I
Yeah,
just want the behavior to change.
Right.
And that's the thing that that is just not resonating.
I think, I know, you know, this was an unfortunate accident. Person is not being responsible, driving like a maniac, but I do think like people, especially, we need to be looking at security, like terrorism type security. We've had the garbage truck that drove through Nice like about 10 years ago. We had the New Orleans kind of where the cars, like this person accidentally, they shouldn't have been driving, but we should also be like ensuring that Ybor is secure from someone who purposely wants to drive up on the sidewalk and take out a whole bunch of people. And I know some of that has been like the hardening of the street, like actually putting where the police instead of, they did raises up. and
Yeah, the
blocks it,
barriers, yeah.
Not just.
The up
like
and
a
down
random-
barriers,
Right.
yeah.
things
See
like
that
that.
outside the White House.
Yes.
The ones that
Yeah.
come up, yeah, they ring them a slower.
Yeah, but
That's what they have in.
Think
Southern
about it.
There's many
California,
ways to
things
fix
like
that.
that.
So I represent private owners. So there's an ownership side to this too. So I represent a very large Ybor owner that's not really known to you all. It's somebody who's kind of behind the radar. But we are meeting with Councilman Clendenin this afternoon to talk about that from the private owner side, because there is an onus on that. So a huge emphasis from an urban design standpoint is the historic district and the very strict regulations of the Barrio Latino Commission when it comes to facade. It's a huge impetus for safety, not just vehicular, not that a improved window would stop a vehicle, but certainly would stop ballistics. So my client and I are pushing pretty hard on our regulations. It's not just speed and roads, it includes the entire envelope and that first 12 to 24 feet of a building in an urban district like that. And right now, there's some conflict between the extreme work that an owner would have to do to improve the facade, to make it, to meet historic standards, in addition to wanting safety standards, right? So, currently, a historic window is preferred, but do we want to have historic windows or do we want to have hurricane impact rated windows, which are also ballistic windows? So I'm going to keep advancing that discussion on behalf of private owners. That's my job. But I'll make sure to put in the feedback of all of the road sides of it too. And that could include CRA, right? Because the owners decide that they do want temporary bollards, if that's part of the enforcement, CRA could certainly get more involved in that.
Yeah.
I'd rather see, to be honest, you guys know this one pretty frank, but, rather than breaking the streets, which has its own safety implications and is not very helpful for cyclists and for people with ADA issues, and have the public realm go more into terrorism prevention and safety for city. So I can report back to how that meeting went, what the private owners are gonna try to do from a safety perspective.
Yeah, that would be great because that's like overall, like that's.
Yeah, that might also be another interesting, because we haven't had a urban design presentation in a while. Yeah, talking about the balancing, because you guys were like, oh, that would keep everybody safe, but then it would be, not very inviting and welcoming. And
Well, and then
you have to balance.
well, the other side of the balance is that, the officers say that if people are just allowed to congregate in the street,
Yeah.
then it's generally people who are underage who go back to their cars and drink
Yeah.
or
take
Right,
drugs.
they
and then
say
nothing
that,
else.
but that is not the data that they're finding. If the majority of the DUIs are, with all due respect, to all of us here, our age group.
Or adults, yeah.
No, but this is not a DUI issue. We're saying just hanging out on Seventh Avenue and creating problems, starting fights.
Yeah.
Right,
I
but like,
spent many years hanging out on
All
Second
right.
Avenue.
Yeah.
is,
Closed
is that
for
the
years and it
case?
was
That's why I'm
perfectly fine.
suggesting that we actually need a study, because that's their statement, is that actually borne out in other locations?
Correct.
And
Yeah.
And not having cars in Ybor didn't prevent a shooting there.
Yeah.
a couple years ago. So,
I mean, the reality is Seventh Avenue is about as road dieted and designed and traffic calmed as you can get. There's cars on both sides, big sidewalks, buildings, poles, brick, different material, narrow ass lanes. Crosswalks that you have to stop or you'll get, murdered yourself as the driver if you don't stop for somebody. And it's like, at that point, what else can you do?
Yep.
So in my mind, I'm thinking those raised up bollards, you put them down at friggin' 13th or wherever it is. Yeah, and then, so fine, somebody races through, raise those freaking bollards and stop them before they even get on the avenue all the way. I don't, just. Yeah, narrow out the road, it's a design term.
Yeah.
But that's why we want to talk about facades and things
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
because there's more pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah,
of the
yeah, yeah.
environment than just, than kind of the things.
I'd rather stop
Here's about.
So they don't take out buildings and people on the inside, get them out.
Absolutely.
It's such a small area, make those buildings safer too.
Definitely.
Okay. Anything else? This is
I have-
always a good discussion. Yes. Emily.
one other item of new business, maybe it's Jason's, I don't know. If this committee had Tim Horst come speak to us a few months ago about the Morgan Street cycle track. There is a public meeting coming up. I don't remember where they were in that process when he was here, but there has to be an additional study because
Yeah.
there is a land repurposing at this location. So there's a public meeting on Tuesday, December 9th at the Firefighter Museum. From
Hot off the press.
6 to 8. And I think this committee would be useful in sharing feedback on that.
There's the Morgan Street website too. with
Yeah.
Information.
Do you have a flyer or something?
I do, I have it. I got it from.
You got a flyer?
I mean, I was sitting in this room and I emailed and like Josh Cassio emails me back instantly. It's nice. So I do have a flyer. I can share that with you, Lisa.
Yeah, please. And then, I'll get it blasted out.
Yeah, and I will actually share that with my Easy Sunday Morning Ride group because Morgan is now our preferred way to get downtown. If you haven't done it, it's the best. And I am doing a Easy Sunday Morning Ride on Sunday. I still have not decided where we're going yet, so I will take suggestions. But we start at Henry Nola Park. We're gonna be starting at 9 a.m. So come and join us. It's a good day. It'll be a beautiful day for a bike ride.
Let's listen. When you say easy, you just mean easy, like.
They're not racing.
It's a 7 to 10 mile an hour bike ride. Like we go about 10 miles, sometimes a little bit more, but we always stop for coffee. I mean, it's it's all about building community
Socially.
and
I'm
sharing.
going to run my bike.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna get back on the bike finally.
Well, you are more than welcome to join us. We are not a fast group. If you can't talk while you're riding, it's not for us. So, but we ride new bikeways.
That does remind me, coming down Highland today, the new bike lane that's there, it was filled with glass and dirt. And I'm looking at the width of it, I'm like, street sweeper.
That is not a bike lane.
What is it?
No one knows. It is an FDOT thing. Maybe can you give an answer to that? What is that?
And I know the street sweeper won't fit there, down between those possible things in the curb, and I'm like.
They have a bike lane sweeper.
They do.
Yeah,
We
they
do.
Okay.
Okay.
Cause
Yeah.
I mean, the whole way down.
Yeah, we have many too.
Glass everywhere, and I'm like, this isn't good.
But it is not a bike lane.
Yeah.
So that
That
white
white
sidewalk
Yeah.
is a multi-purpose.
Open this.
No, it's not okay because it's awful for cyclists.
Yeah, it is.
Terrible. But it is what it is.
They definitely need to be clean.
Yes, well, that's good to know. But
But it might be.
But Jason, if you could ever figure out what that's supposed to be, because I have still not gotten an answer even from Brian Hunter on that. Okay, so
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for coming. As always, a very good discussion and look forward to whatever's coming in December. If it also includes a little tour of the new garden, that would be fabulous. So we are adjourned. Yay!
All right, so you again. So I hear, okay, I know how to get things.
I used to put it in trial.
Every single, like,